sacrifice the Venge for that. It's not the best situation if he does end up dying afterwards, but it could be a solution. But due to the I feel okay for Prophet. It's a little hard for Sky to zone the Prophet himself because he's got treant damage, so I don't think it would be terrible for Void Boys just to do a safe try. I feel like the Prophet can actually get a lot out of his jungle. Not to mention if he blocks pull camps and stuff, it's going to be a very delayed 3 for Sand King, assuming he's definitely a support. So if you delay his 3 by a lot as well, then that means his move into the jungle won't be as successful. So I think a safe try lane for Void Boys is definitely the ideal thing here.
The band's coming out, the Naga Siren. Interesting one from Void Boys, being able to stop that kind of setup from Mousesports, and we've seen how Mousesports do like to run very farm heavy, but I really like the SF bandway by Mousesports. It works really well with the Drow Ranger aura, obviously, but he's also one of those rare agility heroes that actually builds quite tanky going into the mid-game, so that would actually be kind of your in-between pickup. It takes advantage of the range aura, but still manages to tank up a decent amount. But Void Boys, their last pickup here, got to be a core. It could potentially be a Drow Ranger mid, but that's a little bit less likely. More likely a mid to be picked up. Hani, what do you think?
I think the tough decision here, I feel like they need a core that's a bit more tanky. Or Drow can be that case. Usually, I think Drow strats work the best when you have double saves. Right now, they only have the Ventral, but they can't really pick up another save mechanism. They have the Visage for damage already, as well as the Drow. Nature's Prophet, okay, but I generally think if Drow can sit back and just contribute with the aura, then having a core that's a bit more tanky, that will deal the physical damage, would be great.
Sure, and that fills the role perfectly. Dragon Knight takes advantage, range form, and also quite tanky, and is able to get up right up in the Gyrocopter's face. I love this pickup quite a bit.
Yeah. And this is something that a lot of teams have been running recently. We've seen Complexity and Swindlemelons play this in almost every match I've casted with them, and they have a lot of success for it. Even if they're getting crushed in the mid lane, if the DK goes mid, which he probably should, then you don't necessarily need to win in the CS battle. You get that level 6, maybe you rotate, maybe you try for a tower push, maybe you push down the enemy tower mid and go from there. So Void Boys have that tanky frontliner in the DK. They have plenty of damage on the backline with the Drow Ranger, the Visage, and the Nature's Prophet TPing in. Mousesports are going to go for their last pick here. It is going to be the Wind Ranger coming out as well. Now this is going to be interesting. A lot of control coming through the Quakeful Wind Ranger. We'll see how well he can farm and how well he could do against 747, I believe, in that middle lane. It's going to be an interesting matchup coming through here, guys.
Predictions. Cap, you first.
Still going to be leading with Mousesports, despite the fact that I really like Void Boys' pickup of the Dragon Knight. I think that was pretty much the most ideal pick for them, where their draft was laying at. I think that Mousesports experience, we've seen Drow Ranger Visage a lot. These drafts are quite common, going back several patches now. I think Mousesports do have the experience to be able to adapt to this, and I feel like their drafting is pretty legit. Wind Ranger, a nice early game hero. I'm a little bit concerned about the greed of a Sand King 4th pickup, but that was the biggest flag for me in Mousesports. Otherwise, I'm good with the draft.
Honey? I would still probably stick to the 2-0 predictions, or like for this game, the win for Mousesports. I think on the side of Void Boys, if you consider them winning, I think the most important part is that the early game for Drow has to be good. To me, the early game has to be good, as well as Visage needs to somehow get that level 6 in a decent amount of time.
And Mont, what do you think?
I actually like Void Boys draft a bit more just because what Cap talked about, the greed coming out with the Sand King, and I'm not a huge fan of Wind Ranger, even if it is Quakefoot playing it. So I think Void Boys have the edge in the draft. Do I think they're going to win the game? No. I think Mousesports are going to be able to take this game, honestly, and then take maybe the series still 2-1 as we head into the game. And what about you, Purge?
I like the Void Boys draft a lot more, personally. I think their safe try lane is definitely good. They can get the Drow Ranger with Lifesteal, shift him into the jungle. That'll give 6 on Visage. And the major thing that Mouse has for damage output is Burrow Strikes into Sky Ult or Clockwork into Sky Ult. They can always swap out of that, maybe save their cores, which could potentially turn the fight. But with the right itemization on Wind Ranger and a lot of farm there, they could definitely pose a big issue there. So with that said, thanks guys for helping out. We're going to be jumping into the game. It is Purge and Mod here, and we're going to be casting Void Boys versus Mouse.
That's right. And Bulba's going to be leading the way down on the clockwork here. Look at the starting items. He's going to be placing an Observer Ward. He also has a Sentry as well, so Bulba's going to get some much-needed room to work with by blocking that pole camp. And for Void Boys, they're going 4-man aggression top currently. We're going to have Mercy, Please, Schwan, Fly, and Susie, or 747 leading the way. Just 2 Tangos as well as 1 GG branch for the Dragonite. He's really banking on that early battle. There's no real, bounty hunter to try to snipe the courier, so that shouldn't be a big problem. They're going to scout out maybe the Sand King. They're going to walk up here as well. They're probably going to look to invade the jungle and make the Sand King kind of have a rough time. Maybe put some wards down as well as just get the Treants out and make his life miserable here at the start of the game.
So, this could be very much so an aggressive trialing. You usually don't move this many heroes into the enemy jungle unless you are planning for that. So, versus a Sand King and a Sky, I guess this is pretty decent considering the fact that Sand King is very much a melee hero. He does have to get very close by to land a Burrow Strike in the early game. So if they can abuse that and limit their experience gain, they definitely will have the stronger trialing at the beginning.
And maybe they can rotate into the jungle as well, make the Sand King's life miserable by just harassing him, and that's what you would have a bounty hunter for example. But if you have 2 supports doing that, then all of a sudden your life gets a little bit easier. That Blink Dagger doesn't come out as early, and suddenly Sand King is struggling and thereby making Mouse struggle as well. Treant is actually going to body block the creep wave. That was sick, but
that's pretty cool.
747 is going to be taking the creep wave from there. They're actually going to counter that pole camp block. That's huge.
That was really significant because Void Boys placed an Observer Ward there and a Sentry. So they're hoping that with the farthest right Observer Ward, they would be able to guarantee that it was double blocked in the Sentry and catch. A Burrow Strike actually lands on Fly. This would be really bad now. If that didn't land, it was a possible kill, but he's using a Burrow Strike. He doesn't even throw his stun out, and he goes down. He actually definitely needed to stun way too there, but he didn't do it. He thought running would be better, I guess. So
it didn't work out.
Killed.
He gets the Sentry down, though. I'm almost positive they spotted that out, though, and they're going to counter it.
Of course. They saw him there. They know what he's doing. They got 2 Sentries and 1 Observer Ward for 1 Sentry over there, and they'll move over it. They'll kill it. They won't get it on the first minute time period, and Skywrath Mage is going to sit in position to spot things out, at least to make sure he doesn't get killed as he does deward this, but a first trialing win here for Mouse, and especially with the first blood, considering the heroes they have, they're sitting in a really good spot.
That's a huge win, actually, when you think about it. You don't think of wards and counter warding as that big of a deal, but you add in the first blood as well. I mean, yeah. But that's actually so significant coming out. So now Void Boys have to pick up the slack, not only in that trialing, but everywhere else as well. And Quake was already off to a fast start. 8 last hits. He's got only 1 deny right now. I mean, we don't expect a Dragonite to do that well in almost any lane, in fact. He's sitting at 5 last hits, but Quakefoot is not missing many CS, if any at all.
Yeah, very good player, very good at farming, and with the Null Talisman and 2 Ironwood Branch, he doesn't have to worry about regen nearly as much. The Dragonite's not really a matchup that's going to be dangerous for him, so that's impressive CS, especially with that item build. So Fast Spot will come out, and then he will definitely be able to harass the Dragonite, despite his high armor. So Void Boys really needs to make something happen here. Looks like they're going to do a side pull that will pull some of the lane back under control. The creep wave won't get denied, but they can get a little bit more experience here. And the small camp also respawns on Mouse's side, so if they want to pull back, they can also do that as well.
It's all about lane control right now up in that top lane. That's the crazy thing, too. And Way2 doesn't want to be in lane that much, so it gets a bit harder as the lane progresses through. Way2 wants to be getting his level 3 and then stacking the jungle and moving on from there. So you do have a Gyrocopter, you do have a Skywrath Mage, there's a lot of damage, but on the other side, there's a Visage, a Venge, and a Draw Ranger. There's damage everywhere. It comes down to positioning, like you talked about, the pulls being very important. Way2 is sitting in lane for now, and we'll see when he rotates out, or even if he decides to in the first place.
If we take a look at the bot lane, in the CS, Clock has 9 here versus Prophet's 11 and 5. Bulba is completely out of regen here, so Megaponer done some really nice jobs zoning things. So we'll see the rocket. It does catch, so a bit more experience and gold coming through there. So Clock's actually doing pretty good. He obviously has been heavily harassed, but even Prophet's getting kind of low. Only 1 tango left up on him, so Bulba's been doing a decent job here. Again, a bit of lag going on in the games. This has been pretty standard for this tournament so far. You know, the huge 5 times surge of viewers on Dota TV, sure.
That's what happens when you have a free tournament and it's the biggest tournament in the world, so...
Yes, it makes things a little bit tougher.
I can't even imagine when we get to, like, the main event, how many people are going to be watching the games, especially, like, a big-name team. Like, against another big-name team, it's going to be absolutely ridiculous, so... We do have some lag. We're actually paused real quick. And like you said, this is actually, Bulba's doing okay, despite not quite being where the Nature's Prophet's at. Actually, he is tied in CS now with 12, but there is 5 denies going the way of the Nature's Prophet. This is something we were talking about earlier. You have the Treants to harass out the Clockwork, the right click, obviously, the range factor as well. So this is not inherently a Clockwork favored lane at all. And so Nature's Prophet doing what he should be doing, but Bulba, of course, on his Clockwork, he seems very comfortable early on.
And the other really nice thing is that he's opted for more points in Rocket Flare, and you kind of have to do this in a 1v1 lane, at least if it's against a range hero, because in most cases you shouldn't be able to get in melee range to get the battery assault off. It's actually kind of a balanced matchup, Clockwork versus Nature's Prophet, because both players can make mistakes. Maybe the clock stays around too long and Prophet can right click him down. Maybe the Prophet mismicros his treants and Clockwork gets right on top of the Prophet. But with Rocket Flare levels, he's able to CS with this while harassing his opponent, while lowering the HP of the treants, and that's why Clock is put the Nature's Prophet's HP all the way down to half, because he is going to continue spamming the Rocket Flare. And at some point, especially level 4, when he gets a level in Battery Assault, there's a real chance that he could kill the Prophet. Especially, it looks like he bought a bottle or something like that. He's got 12 CS here. He spent his money on something.
Yeah, I think that's his bottle coming out.
Yeah,
in fact, it is. And
he
that's
needs that really bad. In the meantime, something's coming to Quakefuss. So that's Quakefuss boots already done. So these guys are so good at farming that they're actually hurting each other by delaying their item.
Quakefuss was like, did you really have to use the courier here? And Bulba's like, I need to spam out my Rocket Flare, please. Why?
He actually really needs the bottle.
Yeah.
I would say Bulba definitely needs the bottle more than Quakefoot does. Need his boots, because Quakefoot's maybe going to continue pressuring the Dragonite, but a boots isn't going to make the difference.
Yeah, agreed. The Rocket Flare is very important for Bulba to spam out, and just all of his abilities in general. And there is, like you were talking about, there's a way for both players to get kills in that lane. It was down to 6, I think, and Bulba right now is playing it a little bit better, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes in that lane if they do decide to go on each other. Way 2 is sitting around the corner. Arcane Bolt's going to fly. There's the Magic Missile. Pilot Eye sitting in the back line. Double burrow. Great burrow. Way 2. There's a TP in from Poner, but Pilot Eye so far away. They need one more right click. They can't get it.
Wow.
Way 2 on the ground, dealing out actually some significant damage with the Sandstorm. Way 2 will just sit there. He's actually done in about 6 seconds. Omega Poner's going to stay by. Way 2 just walks away, and somehow nobody dies in that situation. Even with a TP coming up from the Nature's Prophet as well, nobody dead.
It was that double Burrow Strike. That was amazing that he got 2 people to level 1 Burrow Strike. The range is so small, but 2 stuns there guaranteed at least 1 less right click on the Skywrath Mage. That guaranteed would have been first blood. So really nice play there by Way 2 Sexy.
All right, Black almost got caught out with the Treant blocks, but they weren't in position to go for a kill. Level 1 Frost Arrows, level 2 Precision Auras, so the right click damage of Mercy Please, especially when he hits level 6, is going to be ridiculous. His farm is sitting at 17 last hits. The Gyrocopter sitting at 15. They're not really denying the Gyro, but they're making his life a bit harder.
But a good thing for Mouse is that he's gotten 2 single pulls off here on the small camp, and that puts Sand King at the big old level 3. So into the jungle he goes. He can start stacking things up and getting his own levels, and this gives more experience for Gyrocopter. It helps Skywrath Mage as well. Skywrath is probably just, he's just sitting in the jungle stacking for the Sand King, and Gyro's totally happy with this, and he can move into the jungle. He can continue pulling the small camp if needed. Void Boys needs to take control of this lane, immediately get it close to their tower, and make sure Gyro doesn't get anything else here for free.
But already you can see the Vengeful Spirit rotating towards that top rune spot. She is smoked up, Fly's ready to go, and that is not the Complexity Fly, that is the Void Boys Fly. Bottom lane, Bulba goes in with the Cogs Battery Assault to make a Poner. Has some decent Treant micro coming through, so the Battery Assault splitting up between the 2 of them. The haste rune from Bulba doesn't get enough done. He tried to go for the solo kill. Mercy Please rotates bottom. They're sacking the lane. They say, we realize that we could have gotten some kills, but we decide that we want to invest more farm in the Drow Ranger now.
Yeah, this is the right thing to do, because, like I said, if they didn't own weren't able to own the Gyrocopter, they're not going to be winning the top lane. The tri lane went a little bit too poorly. It wasn't a complete loss here, but it's going to force the Nature's Prophet to TP to the top lane and go for the more dangerous lane here. So now that it's a Drow Ranger versus Clock, this is really good for Bulba, because now he's got all these extra levels. He's already level 6, by the way, at 5.5, 6 minutes here. If he grabs the rune and he gets a hook shot on a solo Drow Ranger, Mouse is going to snowball this whole game, I think.
And that's when it gets real difficult. So he does have a bounty rune. It's not really the rune he's looking for, but he has plenty of regen to work with now with the bottle charges going. Mercy Please is sitting very close to his tower. He's actually kind of afraid.
Exactly. This is the loss of their tri lane. Yeah, it's safer for him to be on the bot lane, but now he can just die. Maybe it would have been better if they stayed top. It's hard to say, especially because Sand King's likely just going to AFK the jungle.
It's not like top was going disastrously either. They were actually doing pretty well up there. They could have maybe killed the Gyrocopter or even Pilot Die once or twice. Maybe they could have rotated into the jungle, bought some detection, go for Way 2. Instead, Way 2 has a ridiculous amount of gold. I think it was 1,800 I just saw on him. That's absolutely fantastic. He's going to have like a 7-minute maybe 7.5-minute blink dagger. That's absurd timing for a Sand King.
That is so absurd, actually. And Bulba's going to continue pressuring bottom, but even with Venge here, that's something they have to be worried about. What's Venge going to do? Throw a 100 damage nuke on him? They're actually going to go for the dive in the Visage. He's gotten level 4 out of this, but Mao's just getting big advantage. He can't even sprout Black under the tower. He does get silenced here, but even if he did catch him under tower, that was maybe a kill, but that would have been pushing it. His range was just not quite there, and Voidboy's just getting completely outplayed right now. It doesn't look like that big of a difference on the score, but look at the net worths. The top 5, 4 of them are Voidboy's heroes, and the Clockwork has more farm than the Drow Ranger.
Yeah.
The support Sand King has more farm than him, and look at Quakefoot, just going insane on the mid lane. 3,800 net worth, and he hasn't even gotten a kill. His 53 CS at 7 minutes.
He has 1,300 gold. We have no idea what he's going to buy, and honestly, at this point, anything's fine because they're snowballing so heavily. And you have to wonder, and this isn't necessarily for Quakefoot, but for that top lane, how important were those counter wards? How important was that first blood to the way the game went? You could argue that Void Boys were fine up there, but they didn't snowball nearly enough, or they didn't snowball at all. So,
well, they needed to block the pull camp because that guaranteed that Sand King got a level or 2, but that camp's really hard to secret block. You can pretty much place one sentry and cover all the spots there. You could argue that that pull camp is too easy to deward, basically. But so basically, they couldn't block it unless they body blocked and made things a bit tougher. Ooh, almost a hook shot on Boba. He's like, "Oh, I'll take a free kill, thank you."
The TP came in, and the Mega opponent's like, "I actually don't want to kill myself right now. I'd rather not go for that rune."
Exactly. He's gonna mess up this little pull here. Shoots the rocket over,
The
and
pull through. Oh my God.
That guarantees that that's a pushed wave now. So even more experience coming for Boba, and most importantly, a bigger range where he can look for hook shots on Drow. As long as Drow's not on a tower, it's going to be good.
Mercy, please, like, I just want a little bit of farm, and I can't even get that. You block my pull through. What are we supposed to do here? The Dragon Knight is sitting at 39 CS. He's done okay, but if you look at it through Quake's eyes, Quake was just crushing him.
Ulti from a Mega opponent. They're going on Boba. He's going to get the hook shot. Immediately ditches. He's got a regen rune as well, and he does pop it a little early, wasting some regen, but he's got to be completely fine with that. Again, how many times did Nature's Prophet TP'd for nothing in this game? It was very different than what we saw last game with Complexity versus Gnar. That Prophet was everywhere, and every TP did something serious, but we haven't really seen that much come out of the Prophet. He's still farming better than the Clockwork at least, but with the tier 1, I guess he's gonna be able to pressure the tier 1 tower. That's one advantage. Great deny there. And that's actually a pretty good 30 seconds. That TP was worth it, I think. Despite not getting the kill, if they can get the last one on the tower, and they do.
Not if they lose Schwan here. They're going to throw up the call down. They have the Ancient Seal as well. That damage is already ridiculous. They only need a little bit of the Rocket Barrage. 747 is going to rotate in. He does have to breathe fire here. Black is going to try to TP away. A couple more right clicks from 747. They won't get the kill with the Corrosive Breath, and Pilot will make it out as well. And 747's like, I just needed a single kill there, and I couldn't find it. They lose the Visage. They don't get anything in return with that Elder Dragon form coming out from the Dragon Knight.
If Visage was able to do any damage there, that would have been a kill. If he turned and right-clicked once, that would have been a dead gyro. A little bit of panic from him. I mean, once the cooldown hit, he was committed. He was dead. He probably should have turned and hit, because as soon as gyro gets within range, he's dead. Shreds all of his armor. I mean, he was silenced, he couldn't cast Soul Assumption, but a right-click would have actually been significant there. I mean, it's hard not to notice your opponent. Again, they're going for Boba. He's got hook shot again. Will he land it? He actually goes aggressive this time.
Center from way too.
Oh, man, this is so good.
Mercy, please, is going to get blown up. Boba is going to end up falling here. They get one kill. Does he get the Burrow Strike? He does, and now they're going to get the Omega Poner Nature's Prophet as well. Way 2 is channeling from the side. Looking for Fly. They can custom shot the rotation from the Scarith Mage coming down as well. Way 2 is completely out of mana. He has 3 stick charges. I don't think it's going to be enough for a Burrow Strike, even if he uses them, but still, might still go for this. They have another hero coming in. It's Koifa. Koifa with a power shot. The snipe comes in the last right click. The Pincer Claw from way 2, the casual Pincer, gets the kill. He'll TP away as well, gets the double, and Mousesports, even though they lose ball, but they're starting to run over Void Boys right now.
I mean, that was completely worth it. They got a carry kill in exchange for their off lane. That's the sacrifice play that you want to make as a Clockwork. And pretty aggressive play from him. I didn't think he was going to go for the carry. I thought instead he was going to back and go for the Drow, or go for the Prophet, but with way 2 in the area, turns things around to Epicenter. I loved how he saved his Burrow Strike as well to guarantee the kill in the Nature's Prophet that otherwise wouldn't have happened. That was just really nice setup there from Mouse and really good planning as well. So they're just taking their advantages that they've been getting, and they're really utilizing them well. And in the meantime, again, Quakefa getting insane farm in a favorable matchup.
And it's just the little rotations as well. Quakefa rotates once out of the entire game, gets a kill. Omega Poner rotates like 3 or 4 times, doesn't get a single kill in the process.
Got a tower release, and there's another terrible thing for Void Boys. They jump in, they grab a Drow Ranger, and that is why the aggressive trialing is so scary. They're going after Boba. They're not quite done yet, but all he has to do is TP. Here come the bat stuns, very close, but nothing there. And way 2 can very easily run circles around everyone on Void Boys at this stage in the game. Nothing can stop him at this point. Unless he gets within range of a Dragon Tail stun, he is just, he can do whatever he wants, man. How do you get a Blink Dagger so fast? That was actually so much gold. He had a first blood, and then he just went insane on the jungle. They played this early game so well.
We saw how much they stacked with Pilot Die in the jungle. They made sure he got farm, and boy did he. He got that Blink Dagger. It was actually a bit later than I thought it was going to be, maybe 8.5, 9 minutes. And I say later, but that's still actually absurd, especially in this patch.
And he got aggressively tri-lane, by the way, which is normally a scene for, wow, I'm going to get a little bit delayed because I'm busy or distracted. Or
did not feel like an aggressive tri-lane.
It really didn't. Void Boys didn't get enough out of that. That may be a big experience thing. Everybody on Mouse has far more experience playing professional tournaments than Void Boys does, so they played that tournament, or they played the tri-lane very, very well, and it forced Void Boys into a reaction that I don't think they wanted to do when we look back.
Average time for Blink Dagger.
12 and 6 seconds. That was a big increase.
Yeah, that is not what we used to see. 747 is going to be backing up. There's the hook shot from Bulba. The battery assault, they get the Cox up. He's going to pop the Elder Dragonfall, but there's the Ancient Seal. Can't breathe fire. Power shot right to the dome. Gets the kill. Sprout up on Bulba. Bulba's been giving his life away. The cooldown's going to come in, but the Sprout actually zones him out pretty well. Gust, I think, doesn't connect on anybody. Shackle on to Mercy, please, but they're fine. Big Nature's Prophet ultimate, actually. The Soul Assumption quite for getting low, but not low enough. Has that casual point booster. That turns into, it's not a great trade for Void Boys, but at least they come away without losing too much more other than the Dragon Knight.
Yeah, that getting at least one kill on the board here will definitely help, but look at the synergy on Mouse. It works out so well that they have Wind Ranger mid. Like, it makes your power shot so much better when it's on top of an Ancient Seal, and that's how you counter Dragon Knight. You want magic nukes. And that's what they've got right here. And the best part is that they're not even all in on magic nukes. If Wind Ranger goes for the slasher build and he goes Ags into a Daedalus, he can definitely deal with the Dragon Knight. It's going to be a little tough because he still does have high armor, but the crit helps you chew right through that. And maybe we'll even see him get a Desolator to counter that as well. But we can definitely see Wind Ranger transition nicely into a hard carry, in addition to the Gyrocopter. He's doing great.
And so Koifut is going for that Ags first. He had the point booster. He's getting kind of close now, I believe. I'm not sure what he has on him.
Too. He had a staff.
Yeah, so he's actually just 1,000 gold away from having a full Aghanim Scepter. He's still only level 10, so he will have his level 2 ultimate pretty soon. Way 2 is bottom lane. They're going to try to push this tower. They're actually going to TP mid. Void Boys, this doesn't, I don't know if this is a Hail Mary play, but they are going to try to push into this tower. Black throws up the call down casually. 747 gets hit by the first hit. Mega Opponent backs away. The flat cannon only doing a little bit of damage. They push it out. 747 rather fly. Throws up an aggressive observer ward, but they will back away smartly. There's a double damage room top. Meanwhile, Koifa split pushes bottom. Focus fire. Easy kill on that tower. And that is very close to his Aghanim Scepter. 400 away, in fact.
I think Quakefa is playing this game really perfectly. He's kind of playing like a Dragon Knight in a way. You know, you sit in your lane, you get a lot of CS. If somebody leaves, you take a tower. You occasionally gank, but not super heavily. And he's been able to accrue a ton of farm here. And taking that tower in exchange for Void Boys pressuring mid, they've just been splitting their roles perfectly.
And if your Void Boys are, well, Darius Courier goes down. It looks like there was a TP in from Nature. Probably
Bulba punishing. He's like, no, that's my thing, guys. You can't. I'm going to see that coming. I don't know if he TP'd for this one, but
I think it was just home, honestly. That's definitely not worth it, right, for the Nature's Prophet, just getting a curve.
I mean, it's 175 gold times 5, and Bulba probably got about 250, 300 out of that. So on the gold, it's good, but considering Bulba could very easily just snowball with this advantage, and that's a Nature's Prophet who wants to snowball himself, it's dependent. It's hard to argue. Void Boys gets gold, but Mouse gets experience. So
Void Boys do get the top tower, and the surprising thing is that Void Boys have some formidable push in their own right. In fact, their push is very, very good. You have a Nature's Prophet, you have a Drow Ranger, you even have a Dragon Knight, and they have only taken, I believe, one of the towers. They took actually the bottom tier 1 as well, so they've taken 2 tier 1s, the middle tier 1's still there. Ags is now done for the Wind Ranger coming in. They even get, no, that's actually going to be the Medallion coming up for Visage, which is no surprise there. They do need some more minus armor to work with. They also have a mech on a Mega Opponent, so it doesn't look nearly as bad for Void Boys as maybe it should be. They also have a Mythical Hammer coming out on the Dragon Knight.
He's farming really well, actually, considering his death earlier. So almost a BKB for him. That'll make him mostly immune to Mouse's damage, at least until Gyrocopter gets some good single target items, which is far long away, or until the Wind Ranger picks up something like a Daedalus or a Desolator. So Looking very good for Mouse. I agree with that. I love the Eggs pickup on Wind Ranger, though. Before Eggs was a good item, you just never saw it. But she really needs survivability in the early game, and we used to always see Wind Rangers go for 4 stats. But the Eggs is just a perfect fit. Lots of HP, a little bit of stats. You get most of your usefulness from abilities. And while Pilot Eye looks like he might go, and he does get picked off, but a hook shot into Vengeful Spirit. She's going to fall for sure. And a Burrow Strike in catches the Nature's Prophet as well. If they can get the double kill here, that's going to make it completely worth it. Called on comes through. Need another Burrow Strike and a bit more. And there's the battery assault. Couple more right clicks. He's got 2 trees, but I think that's going to be it for Megaponer here. And goodbye.
Way too blinks ahead, just a body block, just to make sure they get that kill. He can even Burrow Strike if they needed to, but Bulba gets the double kill. We talked about making sure he snowballs, and that's exactly what Bulba's doing.
6, 2, and 1. That's a good stat count for a Clockwork in the offlane.
Even if he's died a couple of times, he's having a fantastic game, and he really hasn't died that much. Way too top. They have Epicenter ready to go. 747 in the front lines. They even have the birds as well. They're doing some decent tower damage here. They lose the tier 1 mid to the Wind Ranger, though. Koikfa now with his Aghanim Scepter focus fire pretty good. Way too looking like he wants to push out the creep wave. They also want to try to take down these birds if possible. They're chasing as far as they can.
They can catch him. That's a haste rune. Hook shot's coming. 15 seconds. There's a Burrow Strike on the Dragon Knight. Now the slow. Here comes the bonus damage. He will get silenced. A couple right clicks, but big soul assumption brings down Pilot Eye. Shackle's going to put him on the street. Koikfa taking some damage, but he's still very, very tanky. About half HP left over. Great Cogs. Epicenter comes through. That's going to clean things up really hard, and the power shot as well. Prophet's still up, but he goes down, and only one falling on Mouse. That's Pilot Eye. Completely worth the sacrifice and the big burst damage. Just cleaning up the Dragon Knight. He really needed BKB in that fight, but I still don't think it was going to make a difference.
That is some sick team play. The Cogs onto 2 into the Burrow Epicenter coming out from way 2. The power shots were beautifully done from Koikfa, and that is going to give them a huge lead. If we look at the net worth recap after this team fight recap, that's actually, it's going to be ridiculously big. Bulba actually is going to be going for 4-step, it looks like. That's actually pretty sick. He's going to have that very early on. There's the Ogre Club for Black as well. So this is looking really, really solid for Mousesports. Fly has the smoke up, and they might need to do something like a Hail Mary play. Maybe. It just feels like they're getting out-farmed. And then there's the net worth. It's 7,500 and 7,500 as well for both net worth and experience.
It's just hard for them to get ganks off to come back right now. They could try to gank a Clockwork, which they tried a lot in the early game, but you have to deal with him hook shotting somewhere else. You could try to gank a Wind Ranger, but then he's got Wind Run, which is going to stop a lot of the damage coming out of Void Boys, because you have Avenge and a Drow, and even a Dragon needs to right click. Like, Wind Ranger was a pretty safe, smart pick this game. If you had something like a Quap, if he gets chain stun, he dies, but you know, with a Wind Ranger, you just press that one hotkey and things become tough, and he's going for the crit build, definitely what he needs.
They scout this out with a Wave of Terror, though. They know they're doing this, and they're going to back away.
They're just helping them roast a little faster. They're like, you know what? Things aren't going so good for us. Just get us out of our misery. Kill this guy. Medallion, fast Medallion on Skyreth. Not too surprising. That's going to really limit his survivability, but it's going to help out his team's ability to do things a lot better.
And they honestly could have roached there. They weren't really trying to contest that. The Wave of Terror came through. They would have finished it quickly with Chrysalis. Procs coming in from the Wind Ranger.
Man, they're winning 14-4. You don't want a chance little pushes like that. If you only had 2 heroes and you're kind of doing a greedy one, that's really efficient from Void Boys to basically reveal. I mean, there's a lot of games that were won by little secret Roshans like that.
Especially in America.
Yes, in America there was a lot, especially by a team known, for example. They kept doing a lot of secret Roshans and things like that. But if you can just make them think like, oh, you're doing a secret Roshan, but we know you're there, a lot of times they're just going to back up and they won't get that advantage. So it's fine. Mouse is ahead. Played safe.
There's so many games in America too where like these roach fights will just end the game completely. Like all of a sudden the game is even and then boom, a roach fight happens, and well, that's just the one team fight and then it's done. It's done. So let's see. This is the 7th time in his career that Bulba's had 7 or more kills at the 20-minute mark on Clockwork. That is, in fact, ridiculous. Liquid are doing it indeed. He knows how to play this hero. He's done it numerous times. They're going to head right back to the Roshan. Koikfa's going to throw up the Shackle Shot. They have that beautiful medallion from Pilot Eye, the Chrysalis, as well as the Focus Fire Aghanim Scepter. There is absolutely no idea from Void Boys that this is happening. Fly could throw out another Wave of Terror, but again, at this point, it would just be helping them. They'll take down Roche. Koikfa will grab the Aegis. He gets bashed up a couple of times. Koikfa's like, please. Finally gets the Aegis. 7 for 7 in the meantime says, okay, I'll take that trade. At least I get the Tier 2 tower out of it. So
yeah, that wasn't bad. Vengeful Spirit used the smoke to place a really aggressive Observer on the bot lane, which will help them for their next push. So that's good foresight from him. He did that before it became
Bulba knows. Hook shot, he finds it. Fly, the cogs up, the battery assault coming through. There is Omega Poner. They do have the blade mill. Good net coming as well. Koikfa coming through. He's actually low, but the Shackle Shot, that should latch, and it will. Fly, he's not the most important target, but at least they get it done. They even get the courier that was flying over to Fly, I believe, with Black just right-clicking it as he sees it go through the low ground. PP comes out just to make sure Omega Poner can lead, and Waits will clear up the creep wave.
So Mouse continues their aggression, off to push the bot lane. Tier 2 towers very far away. I think Voidways has been doing a great job taking towers on the other side of the map, at least. Like, the Dragon Knight getting a tier 2 during the duration of the Roche was really nice. Mouse wasn't able to contest it, or they didn't have any desire to do so. And I think that's fine, because Voidways' draft, I don't really see it scaling super well late game. Their Drow has kind of been gimped in the early games, and in my experience, when I watch Drows have bad early games, they really don't seem like a fixture in the late at all. Like, look what he's got. He has Treads, he has a Yashi, he has a Helm of the Dominator. He hits really hard, but again, he can't hit Wind Ranger. If he ever gets stunned to start off the battle, a lot of times he's just going to die. I mean, he will be swapped out, but swapping even Eventual Spirit for a Drow at this point is not the best trade, I think, for Voidboys in teamfights.
It's really about keeping the Dragon Knight alive, and maybe even on the front lines as well, so that Drow Ranger can put up that damage and make sure that she actually has some sort of involvement in the fight. And now that they have the BKB done for 747, maybe they can get a bit more aggressive, or at least try to do something. Because right now they're just reacting to whatever Mousesports are doing, and Mousesports are taking a lot on the map. They even have this huge Ancient stack coming up for Black. His BKB is done as well, right around the same time with going Treads first as well. So Black's having a great time in farm too.
He's got pretty good armor right now as well. Hookshot comes through. Again, finding the Drow Ranger. How does he keep finding him? Focus Fire coming through, and Mercy Please goes down again. Observer Ward, that is a very common way to find your opponent.
That's one way you could do it, that Observer Ward on the high ground specifically. But who expects that Observer Ward to be there at this stage in the game? It's like, what?
Yeah, that's an early one. I don't even know when they placed that, because it's pretty early. It was recently, about 2 minutes ago. Focus Fire again. Look at that damage output from Wind Ranger. That's a 15-second cooldown. The crit actually just scales so well on Wind Ranger. In my opinion, that build is the only thing that's keeping Wind Ranger viable. It just gives you some interesting options, and that's what makes Dota great, is when you have so much hero variety that's useful in certain situations.
So how much of an Oracle was Slasher then, if we're talking about that?
That was literally by far the best build he has ever figured out, in my opinion.
He's done the offlane Enchantress too, which is starting to pick up steam.
I don't think that's as viable, and I think he could have had more efficiency there. I would argue about that, but I think his Wind Ranger build was perfect.
Shot comes in. They're going to find Chuan now in the cogs as well. They come in with a Sandstorm as well.
They were just jungling there. They wanted that Centaur camp. That's all. He just got in the way.
Sorry, sir, we're going to need to take this from you. The TP comes up from 747. He doesn't have to use the BKB. Bulba will TP back home. It looks like maybe he wants to get some more mana. The net worth graph keeps on dipping. The experience graph even more. It's looking real rough right now for Voidboys. And Koikva picks up the Daedalus. He's about to hit level 16 as well at about 24 minutes. And if he focus fires any specific hero, they're just dead. And he might even fire Mercy Please now. He's going to walk in. Koikva has the Shackle Shot at the ready. He knows.
Hero.
Oh my God, Mercy Please. We'll see you later. Gets shackled up and just dies during the duration. And Koikva says, thank you very much. I will take that gold. I will take the level 16. And Mercy Please dies pretty much 2 times right in a row.
They gotta kill that Observer Ward. And at this point you realize, okay, I've died. We've lost 2 or 3 heroes in the same generic area. They obviously have an Observer Ward in the area. And look, might see a hook shot. Fly, you in trouble. There's the hook. Lands Battery Soul, Cogs, and Blade Mail as well. He starts attacking the Cogs, but that's it. Another kill. Nope. If that would have been a mech, they might have been able to save him, but I don't think somebody has a mech.
Omega Poner has it. He is TPing away. He did have his regular his teleportation ability, but he did not use it. He was staying top for whatever reason. He buys the Orchid. At this point, it's not going to do anything with the Gyrocopter. He already has the BKB. 747 hasn't been getting involved. There's the Force now done for the Sand King. He also has another, I think, recipe on him, but I don't know what it was exactly. DK is still doing pretty well for himself. Clockwork almost has Ags. That's pretty nice. The recipe is Boots of Travel for Way2.
Way2 played this game so well as a support. A little bit of Sandstorm to dodge the potential Orchid, I think, or he was just a little scared. Yeah, it was Orchid dodge possibly. Ghost Strike comes through and they catch him again inside the Cogs. Another dead hero. Voidboy is just looking so outclassed this game, aren't they?
They really are.
Like the tri-lane. The problems were so subtle in the early laning stage, but they transitioned into absolute overwhelming dominance from Mouse. They're just moving around the map and getting all the kills.
It feels like Voidboys kind of tilted after that laning phase a little bit, or they just, I mean, maybe Mousesports just outclassed them.
I mean, you never know what happens in terms of communication. Maybe somebody calls for the Drow Ranger to go to the bot lane, and he goes to the bot lane, and he's like, wait, why am I laning against a clock? This is stupid. It could be something, you never know, it could be something like that. It creates pressure within the team, and the supports are under-leveled, and they're trying to stop the ward, but the ganks continue, and I mean, how do you stop what Mouse has at this point? Ganks is maybe the only way, but again, they have very strong cores. They've got BKB up on the squishiest of their core, which is Gyrocopter. And how do you stop a Sand King? He can Burrow Strike, he can Sandstorm, he has a Force Staff, he has a Blink Dagger.
It comes down to the Orchid, I think, honestly, on the way too. Maybe
an Orchid still Force and Blink, you know? Like, Sprouts does nothing now.
Yeah. Honestly, maybe a good
just a casual Dead Nature's Prophet.
I don't know why he's up there in the first place.
I just saw his dead body. I think he TP'd in and just hit the floor. That's what happened.
Pilot Eye says, thank you very much. I will take that kill. Maybe he threw up the Mystic Flare for it as well. So Nature's Prophet just casually dies in the enemy jungle, in fact. The Tier 2 tower is going to fall solo to Black, who is up to almost 3k gold. We'll see if he wants to go for MKB, maybe a Butterfly instead. He has a couple of options.
I think Butterfly is the way here, definitely. Look at the damage out of Void Boys. They've got a Faceless Void, they got a Vengeful Spirit, they got a Drow Ranger, they got a Dragonite, and they have Visage Birds. If it's a Drow Strike, I'm of course kidding about
Where'd that Faceless Void coming?
I was just kidding. Everybody here has been making jokes about, wow, they've got a Faceless Void so often, so I had to make it on stream. But they have almost all physical damage, or at least right-click lineup. They are countered heavily by evasion, which is one of the reasons Wind Ranger's so good. There's the Shackle Shot.
When did she get that Blink Dagger? It comes out of nowhere. Oh my lord, she blows up Visage.
Her damage almost looks bad, but it's plenty to kill any hero on Void Boys in 4 seconds, with the exception of Dragonite. He's the only guy that can survive.
I mean, we're not really even seeing that many crit procs come through.
Might see another kill. Here comes Shackle again.
That was sick. The Shackle on the range creep in the Mystic Flare.
Was that a double kill?
Yeah, it is. He's on a monster kill streak. They even have the Ags as well now coming for Bulba. We'll see some hook shots maybe onto the high ground. And they'll be pushing that pretty soon, honestly. They have pretty much all they need. Maybe pick up that Butterfly for Black if they really want to. You look at the top 3 in net worth, and it's really not even close. There's the Drow Ranger who's kind of close to the Clockwork, and they're all about 9k sitting on the side of Void Boys, but that's just not nearly enough to deal with not only, of course, the Gyrocopter, but the Wind Rangers who have been having a fantastic... Like, Quakefoot has not really made a single mistake. He farmed ridiculously well mid, and he rotated extremely efficiently as well, getting kill after kill on tower after tower.
But they need to get rid of the vision on the map. I think if Void Boys has any chance of winning this game, they need to get a gem, or they need to place their god tier sentry wards to get the observer wards. That one on the cliff is still there. But how often do you see that ward just get left there in a high-level game? Even in pubs, that spot is dewarded all the time. And the fact that it's been able to retain there, that's why Mouse is stomping so hard in their ganks. They can see exactly where Void Boys is moving. Both of their wards are actually very greedy spots that are pretty darn common. Yeah. But with them, they know where their opponents are. And then Quakefo, with his gold advantage, can do whatever you want. If you have a gold advantage and they have map vision over you, there's no possible way to win.
And Void Boys, they're going to watch this replay and they're going to start kicking themselves. They're going to know that ward was there early on, and that's just going to feel so bad for them.
Yeah. Look, they did put one sentry ward down, and it's on the cliff right there, but they didn't find anything there. And I'm sure the Venge is so underfarmed that he's like, I just can't keep throwing 100 gold on the ground and not finding anything. He's almost at gem, though. Definitely an item that he has to buy over his cores. His cores are too far behind. Yeah. This is literally a support game at this point. You need to stop the observer wards, and you need to get smoke ganks going, and the only way you can do that first is by killing their observer wards. So once they can get the map vision around, they can maybe start moving around the map and going for kills.
We haven't actually seen this DK use his BKB at all, and they haven't had the chance to. There's been no big team fights, but I don't even know if that would be the best idea for 747 and the rest of Void Boys. You talked about getting ganks, and he hasn't been involved. He goes for a Hyperstone for what I imagine to be an Assault Cross.
Probably, yeah.
I don't think he goes Mjolnir here. Honestly, I think AC makes a lot more
actually,
sense.
Actually, Mjolnir might be better. It does far more damage. I think if you're behind, and if you got a good Mjolnir proc, or usage on himself, he could reflect a ton of damage during the team fight. It might be the solution, honestly, over an AC here. If the game is even, I'd be like AC, but you have to look at Mjolnir like a rapier in this game. They need a rapier to win, because I feel they're so far behind.
Omega Poner is starting to get farm across the map, but he's allowed to. I mean, because he can TP in and out. He's died because he's been risky. I mean, you have to make those plays, though. You have to farm outside your base. You can't just sit around and wait to die. They have to do something. And right now, Bulba is going to walk up. The force up to the high ground goes into a couple of trees. Sprout's going to go through. There's going to be the Grave Chill. He did find a lot. They have that Solar Crest. Bulba getting low. They do force him out. He hook shots away, but doesn't get out. Now the Dragon Tail Pilot Eye will be the first to fall in this fight. Calldown's going to come through. Omega Poner's on the edge and dies to it. Black's going to walk in. He's got his BKB, but he gets Dragon Tail. No. Pops
my
BKB.
God,
the Rocket Barrage coming in. They're triple kill.
That's
and the GG. They say we can't take any more of this punishment. We are donezo. That is it. Void Boys. They take a fight outside the base, and they're like, well, I don't know what else we can do now. It's time to get out of here.
That was a 30-minute game, but I think that was the biggest stomp I have seen of this tournament.
It was the quickest 30-minute game we've ever seen.
That was the ganks that game. Like, they couldn't do anything to stop them. Once Boba got that advantage and he forced the Drow Ranger to never farm safely, they just moved through the jungle. They had the aggressive wards. They went